This morning I want to invite a special sister to come and share. We, as a committee and members of Men's Fellowship got together, we thought that we would have a mother to share with you today. And this mother had the privilege of raising three beautiful children, three beautiful tall children. One of our own, and I'm sure you've seen her on this platform before. You've heard her encouragements, and I'm sure that you know within your heart that she loves the Lord. And I want to introduce this morning, our own sister, Deborah James.
Tom was not satisfied to do the short one, and my heart here beating. He did the long one. Let us pray. Dear Lord, this morning, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable unto you, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. You may be seated. On the night before his 5th birthday, a mother put her son to bed, and she wanted to know if he understood that he was going to be 1 year older. So Peter, she said, do you know what you're going to be tomorrow? And little Peter put up 4 fingers, and he added one more. He said, tomorrow I'm going to be a handful. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are dealing with a handful, and all those who passed the handful stage. God bless each and every one of you this morning. I believe motherhood is the hardest job in the world, and especially in this day and age. I tell people sometimes I would do 2 degrees at the same time. It is a job sometimes that when you look at it, you're thrown into, and you have no previous qualifications, and it comes with no manual. And you're expected to do a wonderful job. And if that's not enough, if you have more than one child, the training you did with the first, try it on the second. And you're going to see you don't get the same results. So you have to adapt as you go along. This morning I saw the screen, and it said that I believe we are all things to our children. A chef, a referee, a judge, a teacher, a bank teller, a transporter, and the list could go on. One writer said, motherhood is a choice you make every day to put someone else's happiness and well-being ahead of your own. And another writer says that to become a mother is to consciously make a decision to forever watch your heart walk around outside your body. There's a connection that mothers have with their children that starts from the womb, even before they're born. I remember one night we were living in Paynes Bay. I had my first child, a few weeks old, little Miss Kayla. And I got up. You know how we mothers can get up on autopilot? You ain't even awake yet, but you heard the baby cry, and you get your feet hit the ground, and you move to the cradle. And all of a sudden, I heard Gerald say, no, something wrong. You got to be pretending. I said, well, turn. I woke up. I said, what happened? He said, a fire truck come up through here. Out of fire. Sirens blaring, and they move. He said, but the baby barely said, He said, and your feet come off the bed and up. But he has no idea. We mothers have that connection. There's a wiring that you hear. I ain't hearing a fire truck, but I heard my baby crying, and I moved off the bed. And that's the kind of connection that we have. I laughed when I heard John talking about the pain he experienced. And all mothers know that you go through some kind of pain. Don't care how you deliver the baby. And I was one of those new mothers that I wanted to do it right. And so I went to Lamaze class. And Gerald and I would go and we would practice our breathing. And he was my coach. And all of that went wonderfully well until it was time to deliver the baby. And the pain started to hit me. And my husband holding my hand saying to breathe, breathe, breathe through it. And I look at him, I say, you go home. The coaching, I never went back to Lamaze. I know it would have worked for other people, but not for me. That pain hit me too hard, and I needed to deal with that. Me and God, no coaching. And this is what we go through sometimes as mothers. We forget the pain, because when you see that child, so beautiful. So all of my children are beautiful. They're all taller than me, even in tall heel shoes. And I look up at them, and it's a joy to look up, because I know they smile, because I'm there talking about something, and they're looking at me and say, look at the little short woman. I know that is going through their head. However, it doesn't matter, because the short woman, you obey the short woman, okay? And so this morning, it is a joy and a privilege to talk to us mothers. I'm not talking as someone who has vast experience. I believe I'm like you, a mother here in the trenches, and I know there are far more women in here who have much more experience than me, but I am with you and beside you, and we are fighting as mothers and as grandmothers to raise our children to the best of our ability. This morning, I am so glad that we're here to celebrate. And I know many mothers will be looking to be treated today, so don't think Sister Deborah going to get it here and stop you from getting your good food. No, no, no. We're going to look to the message. My message this morning, I want to look at a woman who is one of my favorite characters in the Old Testament. This woman makes me excited. I want to be her when I grow up. I want us to take a look at the Shunammite woman. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 8 to 37. And we're going to walk through Elisha and the Shunammite woman. And for those who don't know the story, and you get a chance, and you're not close to the Bible, or it doesn't come out, you read it when you get home, because you need to digest it just a little bit more. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 8 to 37. And we're going to start off, verse 8. One day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. And she said to her husband, I know this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let us make a small room on the roof and put in a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. I think there are a few things we can learn from the Shunammite woman. I'm going to move through it as we go along. First of all, I think the lesson we can learn as women and as mothers, she showed hospitality, she showed compassion and kindness. She started off with offering a meal. And then she said, move a little further. So whenever he comes to tell me a place to stay, and one day God gave her the revelation, you know what? Put a room there for him. Amen. You know, when we start out, she is the one who approached Elisha. We have to approach God. Amen. We have to approach God. We have to make a place for him. Amen. We have to go to him. And as we go to him and we invite him in, you're going to find that he starts to enlarge. You're not only going to want him for one meal. You're going to want him to come regular. And then you're going to want him to abide within you. And if you see how she approached this, she started off gradual. I believe she liked how her house felt when the man of God was in that house. We need to invite Jesus within our homes. We need to invite him within our homes because he's the only way that we can have a household that is honoring God. But I want us to look at the hospitality she showed also. Our children need to see us modeling hospitality. I came out of a village atmosphere. I came out of an atmosphere that when somebody doing conkeys, practically everybody getting conkeys. I came out of an atmosphere that when you don't have a lime or a little bit of salt or a little bit of sugar, you could go to the neighbor. I've gone into a development, and I can tell you, half of the people, you're not sure if you could go and ask them for a little bit of salt and so on. I remember having some extra bread, fresh bread, nothing wrong with it, but the occasion I thought it was for had been canceled, was doing sandwiches. And so I went to my neighbors and I gave out the bread, and they looked so shocked. I said, but I don't want my bread to spoil, so I'm giving you the bread. There are things sometimes you may say, I don't have anything to give. But right within your fridge, there are things spoiling. And a neighbor could do with it. Somebody could do with it. Right within your fridge, you got dolphin you remember about since last year. 12 chickens. We can share. We can show hospitality. Sometimes it's as much as you're passing through the development and you saw an old lady walking with a stick, a little lift. Some kind of kindness. Some kind of kindness that we need, and we need to model it. Colossians 3:12 says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, and patience. And in Hebrews 13:2 it says, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. You know, the Bible tells us that there are angels sometimes walking among us. And they may not look like, you may not see them with the wings and so on, but you don't know who you have helped. You do not know who you have helped. And then this same hospitality that you show sometimes comes back to bless your children. How many times have you recognized that your children, and sometimes they don't even know it, they think it is them. But they got the blessing through you. The person knew you. And because you were good to them, they turned around and they're good to your child. And sometimes you step in some place and somebody says, hey! And they say, come. And it is you. It is you, the parent, you, the mother. And so when we are good to people, sometimes it doesn't come back to us the same way, but it passes on to your child, passes on to your grandchild. And so we need to remember that it comes in a circle. So bless and bless and bless. And so from the Shunammite woman, we can learn compassion. And what I learned about her and her kindness, she didn't do it. Let's move on here. One day, let's move on, and you're going to see what happens now. Verse 11. One day when Elisha came, he went up to his room and lay down there. And he said to his servant Gehazi, call the Shunammite. So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army? And she replied, I have a home among my own people. He's offering her to talk on her behalf, in our case, to the prime minister, to some head of department, because you've been good to me and I want to show back a little kindness to you, so let me sort you out. And she tells him, I'm good. I'm good. So she wasn't doing it for gain. She wasn't doing it because she thought I'm going to get something. And my apology from now for anybody that I matched their car when they say the next thing. You know this season we in. You know this season we are in. And so the politics running and the people campaigning, and don't think they're doing it just because they like you. They want something. And so when I offer my money to your campaign, later on, I want something. I pray they mash anybody too hard. But I'm just trying to say that this woman was doing it for nothing. She said, I'm good. We mentioned at the beginning she was well-to-do. That means she was wealthy. So she was doing it, I believe, out of a love for the fact she loved when the prophet came. And she loved that atmosphere that was in her house. And so we have to look sometimes at our motive. Because remember, God said he looks at the heart. He looks at the heart. He looks to see whether you're doing it just to get back something. And we know when people are doing it because they start to watch you. Wait, well, I guess she's saying there the other day, I guess she dressed. Well, she looked very hot. No. Well, I look, hang on, I guess she nothing more. She got more than me. And they start to watch you. You change your vehicle. So all of what you were given before dry up because the motive was wrong. We have to look at our motives. Our motive should be to please and honor God. Our motive when we do something is to please and honor God. So nobody don't have to come back to thank you. Nobody don't have to come back and sit and drop down on their knees and say, oh, Lord, I said, thank you so much, thank you so much. Because you've done it and you release it. And so that's why the Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. Because if you're doing it grudgeful-minded, go along with your business. Don't bother. You feel the attitude coming off of people sometimes when they're doing something for you. You're humbugging me. You're coming too often. Wait. She again. And they're doing it for you, but yet the heart is not in it. So we need to look at that heart change. We need to look at that heart change. Let our kindness be kindness. No strings attached. Nothing pulling back that saying, when I pull back, I got to pull back something bigger than what I gave you. All right? Let us do it out of kindness. So from the Shunammite woman, we can learn about hospitality. We can learn about compassion. And we can learn about kindness. She also displayed contentment. She said, I have a home among my own family. She said, I basically got everything I need. I have a house and I'm among my family. She was contented. Sometimes people mistake contentment to say that you don't want anything or you don't want to achieve anything more. But Paul said, I have learned that in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. And the Bible also says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we've brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. But the same Paul turned around and said, I press toward the mark of the high calling. So it doesn't mean that when you're contented that you don't want nothing, that you're settling for average, but you are understanding that you are blessed and highly favored. You are blessed and highly favored. And so you recognize, and your attitude and your mental state is one of gratitude and gratefulness. Because you understand that what you have has been given to you by God. And when you look at it, you know, our problem sometimes is that we compare ourselves too much to others. We compare too much to others. Your car going on very good. But somebody went and bring out the latest model this year. And so you're gone now, and you carry back in the old screw loop that they're going on very faithful. And we see a breakdown down by Sky Mall. And you can't afford to pay for it. The debt collector's calling. Everybody wants to know your name in the paper. Sometimes we have to recognize contentment. It is a perspective that you look at things with. You want, yes, you want to improve, but you appreciate where you are, what you have. You can only eat one plate of food at a time. You can only wear one dress at a time. So I don't know how many you have, but I know I got on one with y'all in here today. And so when all of us are in here dressed in our, you don't know how much I have, I don't know how much you have, we're all on the same footing. You got on clothes, I got on clothes. And we are thankful. And we are thankful. And so this woman displayed thankfulness. And she showed contentment. let's move on a little bit and let's see what happens now as a result of how she's living her life. Elisha says in verse 14, what can be done for her? Gehazi said, well, she has no son and her husband is old. Now you notice that she did not go and say anything about I want a son. And you would have thought to yourself she would have said that, because imagine in those days when you didn't have a child to look after you, widows were not treated very well. Widows were not treated very well, but she was in a position of contentment that she didn't even tell him she wanted a son. But God knows what we need. God knows what we need. And so even when sometimes you don't ask, he sees that you need something and he puts somebody in position to get it for you. And it happens in your life. You didn't even have to go for it. It just dropped into your life. You get a phone call. You hear somebody say, this is for you. And all of a sudden you recognize, I didn't need this yet. Look how good my life is now as a result that I have this thing. But she didn't do that. But they recognize. And when you see how she had lived her life, when you live in terms of kindness and hospitality and contentment, you see then how God moves on your behalf. Then Elisha says, call her. So he called her and she stood in the doorway. About this time next year, Elisha said, you will hold a son in your arms. No, my Lord, she objected. Don't mislead your servant. You know when something's so sweet that you don't really want to be lost. Somebody tell you something so good that you had wanted, but you didn't even allow yourself to know and to say, I wanted it. But somebody is telling you, no, I'm going to give this thing to you. You get a phone call to say, we have a house here for you, a new car for you. This job is yours. And you tell the people, look, man, don't tell me the lies. Don't tell me the lies. This thing is so sweet and so good. And so, this is what happened. But the woman became pregnant, and the next year, about the same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. Let's move on. Verse 18, the child grew. And one day he went out to his father. So this is a few years later. Who was with the reapers? He's big enough now to go out with the father. My head, he said to his father. When I read that, I said, no wonder my mother used to tell me, keep out the hot sun. His father told the servant, carry him to his mother. You know this what his father do? Carry him to his mother. We will say no more. I am moving on from there. After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. I would never have expected this story to go like that. That he died. Lord, this thing that you have put in my life, this marriage, I've been waiting a long time for it. And here it is looking to end in divorce. This child that you have given me died after I've waited for that pregnancy so long. This promotion that I was looking for at work, and now I'm hearing that they want to make the job redundant, died. It seems inconceivable that this thing that you know was put into your life, this good thing, could have died. And so let's see what she does now. And this is what I tell you about this woman. Because I have to grow up to this stage. She says she went up, she laid him on the bed of the man of God, then she shut the door and went out. Let me stop there a minute. I would have cried. I would have been bawling. They would have had to scrape me up with all kinds of shovels from off of the ground. I would have been screaming. I tell my children that my philosophy in life is to cry, stop crying, and do something about it. But notice I said, cry. This woman went straight past cry and stop crying. She went straight to do something about it. And this is what I want us to take from her this morning. Look at what she went on to do then. She went on to say, she called her husband and said, please send one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return. And he wanted to know, why go to him today? It's not the new moon or the Sabbath. And she said, it's all right. We would say she telling lies. I am going to tell you that she was displaying faith and a positive confession. I am going to tell you that she was displaying faith and a positive confession. And we can learn from her. Because while you're there crying, he's still dead and he's getting more dead. Still dead and getting more dead. You may say to yourself, well, I would at least have told my husband, I would have told mine. But then I would be taking him up to the upper room too, to lay down on the bed. Because I know he would have taken it on. And so I thought to myself, she knew that those people around her was taking it on. And her mind at that point was focused on getting to the man of God. She was focused because she knew you had given me the promise. The promise had came true. And so I need to get back to you. I need to get back to the source. And God is our source. That thing He has placed in your life, that good thing, do not let it go along just so. Do not admit the death of it just so. You got to fight. Sometimes there's some that call for a bit more fight, a bit more focus, a bit more stepping out. And I like the confession she said, it's all right. You know, sometimes you have friends who are well-meaning and family who is well-meaning, but sometimes they can keep you back with the advice that they're giving you. They can keep you back with the advice that they're giving you because they love you, you know. They love you. When I was first went to Jamaica, I got there within 2 days of Hurricane Gilbert. And so I experienced Gilbert. And my sister called and she said, no, we can't let you go through that. Come back home. And if I had come back home, they told me I would have had to wait a year to go back up. So sometimes family can be well-meaning, but it may not be the advice that you need at that time. You ever notice that when you're pregnant and you might be 7 months, 6 months, everybody knows somebody that had a baby that died at 7 months. When you get to 8 months, they tell you, I hear 7-month babies is live, but not 8 months. Don't care what stage you are in, somebody has a story for you. And so you have to be careful. You have to be careful who you tell your problems to. Yes, we need people, but sometimes those people keep you back from getting to your solution. If she had told them, the whole place would have been in pandemonium. And so instead of looking to go to the prophet, everybody, she would have to now deal with wailing and crying and carrying on. But her focus was on getting to the prophet. Be careful who you tell your problems to. Be very careful, because sometimes they put more fear within your heart. And sometimes they are well-meaning and they're looking to tell you a story. And I told Sister Pauline this, you know, when it was still last year, all kind of people tell me, cancer don't go away. And they don't even know what they're telling you, you know, because they basically tell me mine ain't gone away. They were well-meaning. And I'm trying to tell you, they were telling you a story about somebody. But if you listen to them, you will stay right where you are. You have to be careful. You have to be careful who you tell your situations to. Because if you're looking to get a solution for it, you can't stay there. She had faith. Matthew 17 verse 20 says, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here, and it will move. Before that, just before that, Jesus said, and when the disciples questioned him why they were not able to get that demon out of the person, he said, because you have so little faith. It goes hand in hand. Sometimes we need to increase our faith. We need to increase our faith. And so we need to get to that place where we trust God to do what he said he will do. Your child might be wayward. The situation might look hopeless, but you've got to turn it over to him. There are times that you have to recognize, this is too big for me. Although I would want to deal with it, this is too big for me, God, because this involves a change of heart. And the only person I know can do change of heart and a total remodeling of heart is the Lord Jesus. Because sometimes when you see the attitude within children, and you know you raised them so, you know you didn't raise them so, it needs a heart transformation. And it is too big for you. And so this is the time now you have to exercise your faith. And you have to go to the one who is able. And so she said, so she saddles the donkey and she moves out. And the prophet sees her coming. And he says, with this situation, look, there's a Shunammite, verse 25. Run, he says to his servant, to meet her and ask her, are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right? And she tells Gehazi, everything is all right. I feel this woman had discernment. Because you know, sometimes you go into an office and the secretary there telling you, well, you can't go into the high official until you tell me what's the problem. And so Gehazi comes, but she didn't want to tell him either. She wants to get directly to the source. And while you see she had a little revelation, later on, you find Gehazi getting himself into a lot of trouble because he was trying to accept bribes. And so he was not fully in the place where God wanted him to be. And so when she goes to verse 27, she reached the man of God. And she says in 26, did I ask for a son, my Lord? Did I tell you, don't raise my hopes? Elisha said to Gehazi, tuck your cloak in your belt, take your staff in your hand, and run. And if you meet anyone, do not greet him. And if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff on the boy's face. And this is why I tell you she had the revelation, that discernment from God that we need. She says, as surely as the Lord lives, and you live, and she's telling this to Elisha, I will not leave you. So he got up. He had to get up. If Gehazi had gone in the power. So that discernment, we need to go to God and ask him for your discernment, Lord. You need to give me the answers, Lord. We need to tuck away ourselves. I walk on mornings, and I tell my children that is my meditation time. That is my time to commune with God. Many times if you don't be careful, I won't see you. Not because I don't want to see you, but I'm so intent in my head, so intent in my meditation where God is communing with me. And that's my time too to come back. I love WhatsApp. My children, no, I don't know it too pretty, but I come back and all the little revelation God gives me, I send them a message. Because even though they may not want to stand up in front of me, they love WhatsApp. And so sometimes a few minutes later, Rihanna would come out and say, Mommy, that's really what you said? Where you get that from? I said, that's what God told me this morning. So that means he wanted me to speak it into your life. Use the technology. Sometimes when they don't want to stand in front of you, they will read their messages. So we got to use what we have to use. And so I send messages. I love it. She goes now and she says, I'm not leaving you. She's going to the source. And when Elisha comes back, verse 32, and he reached the house, there was the boy laying dead on the couch. He went in and shut the door on the two of them, and he prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed, and he laid upon the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. and he stretched out himself upon him, and the boy's body grew warm. And Elisha turned away, walked back and forth in the room, then got on the bed and stretched out upon him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. You know, 7 times the Bible says is his number for completion. So he had been completely healed. And Elisha summoned Gehazi and called the Shunammite woman, and he did. And when she came, he said, "Take your son." She came, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. And then she took her son and went out. I admire this woman tremendously. As a result of her faith and her positive confession, she was able to get the man of God to come. And through the power of God, her son came back alive. There's some dead things that we consider dead within our lives. They're not fully dead. God is able to resurrect. God is able to turn your mourning into joy. He's able to replace your sackcloth and give you beauty for ashes. And so there's something within our lives this morning that we are concerned about. That when we lay down on our beds, we say, "Lord, I am so concerned about this thing, but I cannot do anything about it." I'm encouraging you to hold on. I'm encouraging you to keep praying. The Bible says that there are some that come through praying and fasting. And so sometimes we have got to give up a meal or two to continue to press in. Sometimes we don't like, so I will get here and I got to take my medication. And you can't take your medication on a hungry stomach. But I'm telling you that sometimes praying and fasting will give you the release. Does anybody believe that? Does anybody know that it has worked for them? I am telling you, praying and fasting can give you the release. Because God is on your side. And God has your interests at heart. He's not a far-off God. He's a God that while you are yet praying, He's sending the answer. And sometimes the answer may take a while. And when the answer comes, you understood and you understand why it has taken a while. Because He's putting things and systems in place. But I want us to take that advice from the Shunammite woman. Don't quit. Don't give up. I want us to push off fear. Fear is a liar. If you're going into an exam and you're going in fearful, you know how your whole body wants to get involved in that. Your heart beating. All of a sudden you want to catch diarrhea. And you can't focus. You know that you studied, but you cannot remember what it is that you studied at the time. And so you need to release the fear. Perfect love casts out fear. That's what my Bible says. Perfect love casts out. God is able to cast out that fear. So we need to stop listening to wrong spirits. That spirit of fear, that spirit of doubt that is looking to rob us of our joy. Because God intends for us to get the victory. He intends for us to get the victory. And so as mothers, I want to encourage you to pray good confessions over your children. I want you to understand that the words of our mouth have the power to create, and it has the power to destroy. Our words have tremendous power. So many times we throw out the words carelessly, but Proverbs chapter 19 verse 21 says that the tongue has the power of life and death. And if you remember, the Bible says in Genesis, in the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And He has made us in His image. And so the power of our words creates and it destroys. So you have got to be careful what your words are saying and bringing into your life. What are you attracting into your life with your words? You ever notice that what you focus on is what you see a lot of? From the time you buy a Toyota Corolla, Toyota Corolla's on the road. From the time you get a red car, everybody got a red car? Because what you focus on is what you see. And so when you focus on the problem, all you see is the problem. All you see is the problem. but we need to start focusing on the solution. I tell my husband sometimes when, you know, he may get a little bit tired of me, but bless God, he continuing on with me. But sometimes the situation, I tell him, we talked about that yesterday, we look at the solution for that now. You know? I say, when you looking at a problem, and I don't understand that everybody has their way of processing things, all right? So everybody has their way. But I believe firmly, while you're there beating around the bush, somebody dig up the bush and walk away with it. You stay beating around the bush, somebody take up the whole bush and walk away. So you stay focusing on your problem. Everybody, you mean, you know, I got this problem, you know, I got this problem. You're going to keep your problem because you're not focusing on the solution to your problem. You're not praying to God and taking time for that solution for your problem. And so this morning we want to uplift our children before God because we see within them the wonderful potential that they have. And sometimes they're not to the stage where they can see it yet. And so we need to cover them with our words. Pronounce blessings into their life that they can hear you. Pronounce it, touch their head, and pronounce it into their life. And like on days of the exams, I go and I tell my children, remember the words, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Touch them, anoint them, speak it into their life. If your children are past that stage where they're living with you, you can still pray. You can still call them and tell them, I want to bless you today. We have that power within our language, within our speech that God has given us. We can pronounce blessings upon people. I bless you. I bless you. You are blessed and highly favored. May the Lord prosper you today. May you be in good health. And so we want to watch our words. We want to watch our confessions because you remember you are bringing it and more of it into your life when you focus on the problem. Let us focus on the solution. And so this morning, as I close, and as I have exposed to you, someone you may have known before, but she's my little hero, the Shunammite woman. Because she teaches so much. She teaches so much. She had a mother's heart. She had a mother's heart. And so I want to remind you that God is able to restore that child that may be wayward, that child that may be drugs, alcohol, may not be able to keep a job, may just be incurring debt after debt, may be calling home all the time with some problem that you know they should not be in. I encourage you not to consider it to be dead, but to put it before the Lord, to ask God for the victory on their behalf. And I want us to remember, nothing is impossible with God. God bless you.
God is able.
Yes.
And I want to thank God for putting this message in her heart
Amen.
to share with you mothers this morning, and it spoke to me too. Because sometimes we as fathers, we as husbands, don't allow God to move through our wives. But He speaks through our wives to us. And we are stubborn sometimes. But we need to recognize that God, somebody over there saying all the time, I don't want to tell you the person. But we need to allow God to really speak to us. And as He speaks to us, recognize He's given us that mother, that wife, for our helpmeet. And therefore, she's there to help us through God. Allow God to use you this morning. Allow God to use you to bring a situation that seemed dead alive again. Whatever it might be, because He's able. I want to invite the worship team to just share this last song. He is able, God is able. We're going to come out and give some announcements. And that's going to be the end of our session for this morning. God is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today.
Hallelujah. Please stand. God is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. God is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be. God is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. God is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be.
Maybe there's something that you've been asking God to raise up. Maybe there's something you want God to fix in your life. And this morning God has spoken to you and said, don't give up on that thing. Don't give up on that person. Don't give up on that plan you have. That dream you have. He's able. He's able. Nothing is dead until God says it's dead. God told Martha and Mary, Lazarus is sleeping. He's sleeping. God is able to raise and to revive anything that you might think is you've given up on. God is able. Might be a son, might be a daughter, might be a sibling, might be a friend. Don't give up. God is able. He's still able. We're going to sing a song one more time, then we're going to pray. We're going to give the announcements. And those who birthdays and those who are traveling. God is able, more than able, to accomplish what concerns me today. God is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes my way. He is able, more than able, to do much more than I could ever dream. He is able, more than able, to make me what He wants me to be. He is able.